talking about a clit talk, clit talk, clit talk, talking about a clit talk, clit talk, clit talk.
Are you ready to get kinky, Cliterati? Today, we are delving into the healing powers of kink, somatic therapy, and how we can transmute pain into pleasure. We have a sexpert duo in the studio today who you may be familiar with from, I don't know, the Oprah Winfrey Network, the Wall Street Journal, or ABC's 2020, just name a few.
No big deal.
And they're no big deal. They're gonna walk us through it all. So please welcome to the Clit Talk studio, Kimi Inch and Kayce Neill.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
Yes, we are so excited to have you. I found you, I as one does, scoping through sex positive Instagrams, and yours just really stuck out to me. I was like, these people look really fun, and I have so many questions I want to ask them. And then I was just sharing with them before we started recording. I had offered you guys like a date and time, and then like you got right back to me, and I was like, I actually just booked someone. And Kimi emailed me back and told me I was a naughty girl. So I knew this was going to be a great episode right off the bat.
And I stand by it, Lindsay. You are a naughty girl. I have yet to decide on Katie and Sugar yet, but I have a feeling they might be naughty as well.
What are you talking about? I'm a good girl.
It's always the sweet-looking ones that you have to keep an eye on.
Katie's Catholic. That's right.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness.
Recovering Catholic.
Still Catholic, but recovering. Yes.
All right. So as we were diving into all of the many things that the both of you do, a term really stuck out to us that we wanted to ask you about. What exactly is conscious kink?
So conscious kink is engaging in kinky activities with purpose, intention, mindfulness, and consciousness. So instead of just getting together with somebody and, having a little spank and tickle sort of session, you're actually coming together to create a certain outcome. Maybe it's to create deeper intimacy or have more trust or to explore even shadow work. I mean, it's used for a lot of different purposes, but it's been created for people to just go to much deeper places, and it is available for more self-knowledge, empowerment, transformation, and healing.
That's amazing. I love that. And so conscious kink. So it's a concept actually that Sugar came up with, that we were really ruminating on this. It's the transmuting kink into your communication. And so let me kind of give you an example of what I think, and then maybe you can share with me a little bit more. So for instance, I like to be bossed around by my boyfriend, who I like to call my daddy sometimes, in the bedroom, typically. But in our real life, I was wanting him to be more assertive. So he was able to take on like the daddy fantasy character, but I was also resisting him in the kitchen. So now we play this game in the kitchen when we're cooking. Like if he wants me to do something, he's like, Daddy tells you to do this. And I like really listen, and it's hot. So where does that live in the world of conscious kink? And is there a way to sort of transmute kink, like you said, into intimacy and communication? And like, what does that look like in a real world situation?
Go ahead. So when it comes to kink, our desires and our fantasies are an extension of who we are. And some people are curious, like, where do our fantasies even come from? I like to say, while some people are talking about it being from traumas and things of that nature, I like to say it usually stems from impressions that were made upon us as we were children growing up. So impressions around sex, love, intimacy, relationships. What were some of those impressions? Because a lot of the time as we grow into adulthood, we can eroticize some of the unmet needs that we didn't have met as children. So not to therapize you, Lindsay, but there could be a lot of stuff around really wanting to be met fully and to maybe even push back to make sure that that person's not going anywhere. If anything, he's going to step into the fire with you. And it's like, oh, really? Daddy said so. Now what do you got?
Wow.
You know what I mean?
You just pegged me hard. Wait, I did not say pegged on purpose. No pun intended. But
we just met
that is spot on. I'm the biggest thing for me is like people leave me, and it's like, prove to me you're not going to leave me. Wow, you're good. Damn.
There's a concept around, there's the dom and sub dynamic, which focuses around power, and there's different categories of being submissive that could fall into lines around being bratty, you know, and the brattiness is that actually they want to be overwhelmed into submission, but they want to push back to make sure that they're going to actually be met and they're not going to be sort of left holding the bag by themselves. So the brattiness stemming from calling out to the other person to step up and to actually be met fully. So the bratting is actually like, a kind of a fun, playful way of getting your needs met, but in a way that like calls out the other partner to really step into their power. And if their partner's not willing to step into their power, then the brat can just sort of overrule the whole situation, and the scene isn't as fulfilling as it could be. But there's challenges within this sort of dynamics that have really interesting nuances. And as we like to say, everything that sort of stems from your sexuality ripples out into all aspects of your life. That's why we take fantasies and desires so seriously, because we believe that if you have this healthy internal sexual landscape, you're going to have a beautiful, fulfilling, landscape outside of your inner world. So
And
that's what we're doing here.
So well said.
That really resonated with me. That was good. You said bratty. It's like if you're being bratty, I was like, oh, wait, that's me. I'm like, what do I need to do?
Same.
So what if your partner, is there something that you could give some advice on how to encourage your partner to step into their power so the brattiness isn't so recurrent? Not that I don't have control over myself being bratty, but
This is great. These are great questions because, a lot of people feel like, let's be kinky and let's just, wing it. And it doesn't actually work that way. There's so much preparation and communication that needs to happen if you're really longing for a successful sort of dynamic in that sense. So we talk about like sharing your fantasies with your partner. A lot of the times people are afraid to like express this to their partner, like, how do I do this? And it's about approaching your partner with the intention of having a conversation around your sexuality and creating a container of time that you both agree to come together to have an exploration of what that looks like for each of you. And maybe there's some things that have been coming online for you, like, like I saw this movie or I read this book, or I've been having these thoughts lately that I would really like you to, be a bit more forceful with me, or maybe throw me around like a rag doll even. And giving your partner the ability to feel into their own bodies to see what comes up for them in that place before actually trying to push them into a scenario that they may not be fully ready for, So we're big advocates for not only communicating your needs to your partner, but also like doing self-explorations that consist of looking at your fantasies and your desires and sussing out what it is that you want. And then talking to your partner about how you can set them up to win. Like we like to set our partners up to win. Because when they win, we win, everybody wins. And we do that through clear communication and transparency and being in a place of groundedness.
And then for those who are just starting out, who are like, but I don't even have the ability to talk about what my needs are. I don't even know what my needs are. So there's two things that we work with all of our clients. The first one is the kink checklist.
Hello. If you are on our YouTube, you just saw the an actual kink checklist. If you're listening,
and we'll go over that in just a minute about like what that actually means. And then the other thing that we talk about are the erotic blueprints, which were created by Jaya Ma. And so these are basically the 5 love languages for sex, pleasure, desire, and turn on. And why I love them, why we love them in our work, is that each person that is coming to this is coming with a primary blueprint. And you're one of the 5, which is energetic, sensual, sexual, kinky, and a shapeshifter. So you have a primary, your partner has a primary. And what winds up happening, similar to love languages, is you're trying to talk about sex, you're trying to talk about your desires, you're trying to talk about what you need, and your partner is hearing it through their lens, not through your lens of how you're wanting it. And so if you are like, well, I'm wanting to have sex with you, but sex to you means connection and presence and deep breathing and like holding each other. But to your partner, it means potentially like slot A into slot B with an orgasm at the end. They're going to kind of be clashing right at the beginning. And so these are the two things that we really work with our clients on. First, discovering what your blueprint is, then we can actually get your language, your sexual language and your needs on the same page.
Yeah.
And then we go over the kink checklist, which goes into the deeper aspects of kink and what are your hell yeses, what are your maybes, which we like to keep into no's and then no's.
Got it. And so you talk about like preparation, and for someone who's like, I'm just imagining someone listening right now and is like, I have no idea how to even approach this conversation with my partner. Like, what are like some of the best practices that you guys find for like preparation to even to even say, hey, let's sit down and have a few hours together? Like, how do you create that container with a partner where you have no clue what you're doing?
Yeah. And it's interesting because even as someone who's been dating before, they're like, when do you break out the kink checklist? I'm like, usually before I even have sex with the person. I'm like, we need to have a talk, because if we can't have a conversation about this is probably not going to work out. So I want to make sure that I'm with a partner that is willing to go to these places with me and have deep and meaningful and honest conversations about what they want in the bedroom and out of the bedroom. So when I have a partner and I want to maybe do some exploration with them, again, it's about setting up a period of time to have a connective experience where we're going to actually sit down and talk about some things. Talking about, I'm really interested in having deeper intimacy with you. I want to share more adventures with you. I want to keep the passion and the flame lit in this relationship. And I want to see if we can try out some things and see what fits for us and what doesn't fit for us. And when we're sort of coming from this place of let's explore together and also trust that maybe we're going to have some slip ups, Kayce has this wonderful phrase called Oopsies and ouchies that you use. I'd love for you to share that with them.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is she when she was finished was we give people and we encourage people to come to these conversations knowing that they're probably going to be a little messy, that we're probably going to make some mistakes, that there's the potential of, being not getting into reactive states, right? Where you're like, oh, I don't, that's where the body kind of tenses off. You might go into fight, flight, and freeze. You might stop hearing each other. And so what we like to bring in are things called oopsies and ouchies, meaning so if you think about it when we were kids, right? Like when we bumped our finger or we bumped our knee, we would run to our mom and we'd be like, I have an ouchie. And mom would literally, hopefully for everyone, it would stop and say, great, let me give you a kiss. What do you need? How do I make it better? Yeah. So we bring that into not only the kink world and the work that we do, but we bring it into all aspects where it's like, oh, I realize, so an oopsie is, I realize that I might have done something that didn't land in the way that I intended. So the impact was different than the intention that I wanted. And so I can still acknowledge that that wasn't my intention. And I get that didn't land right. So I'm really sorry. That was an oopsie. How can we clean that up? Because we really want everyone to come to this work knowing that mistakes are going to happen and no one's intentionally trying to hurt the other person. So that's the oopsie. And then the ouchie side is ouch, that hurt. So that could be a physical hurt, that could be an emotional hurt, and that's just ouch, ouchie. And again, what that does is it depersonalizes what happened. It's not like you did this, right? Which always puts up the defensiveness. It's just ouchie, I got hurt. And then it depersonalizes it, and then it allows the defensiveness to go down. It allows people to take a breath. It allows them to come back to the present moment. It allows the reactiveness, the nervous system to just settle and okay, let's try this again.
I think it's important.
It's pretty genius.
People are always trying to be so perfect and sexy in the bedroom, and we want to say there's opportunity for everything, and all of it's an opportunity. And even if there is an oopsie or an ouchie, it can actually take you to even more pleasurable and deeper.
Depth.
I love that. I love that.
Somebody.
That's amazing.
This is so awesome. It's imagining all these adults around the world whose lives you're transforming, and they're just oopsie and ouchie, and you're activating their inner child.
It's so good. It's so good. And one of the things that we do when we do our 4-day weekend event is we actually show people what a conscious, loving, caring, compassionate kink scene can look like. And in those scenes, we have oopsies and ouchies. It's just going to happen.
I stepped on her foot.
Stepped on my feet. It's, the flogger's accidentally hit wrong. It just
a literal ouchie.
What's beautiful. A literal little ouchie.
Yeah.
Not the kind we were going for, but yeah.
But what's really beautiful, because we have the oopsies and ouchies in place, I know when something like that happens that it was an accident, that I'm not getting punished, that there aren't any mind games that are going on.
Oh, God,
You
yeah.
know, if I say, right, if she says oopsie, my body goes, "Oh, an accident." I breathe and I can go back into the moment. And then my body actually relaxes even deeper because she took self-responsibility and accountability for it. And so I don't have to worry about anything. So my body goes, drops deeper into subspace, trust, and connection. And then when an ouchie happens, then if I say that, then what she gets to do is come and nurture, take care of. I mean, how often do we wish that kind of stuff would happen?
Yeah.
So something as simple as an oopsie and ouchie allows that to happen. So depth, connection, and intimacy happens even quicker, even faster. And then you can drop deeper into more possibilities than you even knew were possible.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. And
I'd love to do a meeting with the three of you where we
Please.
we do some of these things on each other, and maybe some oopsies and ouchies happen.
Okay.
Maybe they don't.
Let's try it out and find out.
Let's plan schedules. Come on down to Austin.
actually, my best friend lives in Austin. I might be coming there soon. No joke.
Yay! Don't tempt us with a good time.
Yeah. So one of the questions, I noticed that you guys also work with addiction, you mentioned. And one of the questions that we get a lot is approaching sober sex when you haven't really in the past, and having a hard time turning yourself on without some sort of substance, and how to really get that started. Do you guys have any tips or coaching for people that are really trying on, you know, maybe they're just doing sober January, or maybe they're, you know, sober for life, how to really like have sober sex?
This is interesting because we do these immersive weekends, and at the end, one of the pinnacle moments of the weekend is that we curate a private play party for our group.
Wait, when is your
And
next
we
event
are-
happening?
It's Valentine's
Weekend.
Oh,
shit. We have another one in May.
We'll have another one in May.
Okay.
End of May, we have one.
Sugar,
Yeah.
you want to do a trip to Austin?
I mean, if we're invited.
Definitely. But what we let people know is, you know, the whole weekend we really urge people to stay as sober as possible, even abstaining from marijuana and any kind of medicines, because the body actually releases such delicious, euphoric, expansive chemicals in your body when you're in a neurotic setting where your eros energy is just flowing freely and you're just like so in touch with yourself, and you're being expanded in this way, that we really want people to have the experience of what our body can actually do on its own without any help from an outside source. That's why we do these things called conscious kink journeys, which is sort of a tribute to medicine journeys, ayahuasca journeys, but it's no outside chemical. It's really just us and the client having an erotic exploration specified to their desires and boundaries, where they get to go really deep into subspace and have transcendent experiences where they're really connected to source, and they're able to take in more information and see things from a different perspective than before. So it's very much like a medicine journey without any chemicals or plants or anything. So when it comes to sober sex, we're really adamant about, your
I could be
body's
into
actually
that.
capable of like something even more delicious than any sort of pill or plant that you can ingest. It's actually going to be even more incredible and long lasting as well. So we're like big fans of trying to abstain during play so you can really have the full effects of what your body can create from it.
And then the other thing that we like to do is look at your erotic blueprint, and because a lot of times people are in the shadow side of their blueprint, and so the addictions can be kind of that numbingness to move on the other side of a shadow.
Oh, interesting.
And so so really what the shadows are there for, they're just messengers that are telling us what's in the way of us actually getting the pleasure that we are here to receive, that we're here to get. And so when you can have that consciousness now of like, oh, this is a shadow, or like, this is why I choose to do alcohol or drugs, when you can have that awareness, then you can start to shift it and you can start to change it. And so that's another big piece within a lot of the work that we do. And then Kimi and I are both trauma trained. So I'm a trauma trained therapist. She's a trauma trained therapist in somatics.
Yeah.
And so we bring that. Yeah. Okay. We bring our background to everything that we do. And so we really understand the nervous system. We understand like where it's held in the body. We understand that so many of us have had our boundaries crossed and our consent violated. Yeah. And so what's really beautiful about the work that we do, specifically these conscious kink journeys, is that people can consciously choose to reenact experiences that have caused them trauma from a place of choice. Oh my God. And a place of saying, I get to choose this now, not you.
That makes me
it empowers,
so uncomfortable, which means I probably need to do it. Or could do.
So I have a personal question.
Yeah.
I participated in a mini couples retreat on Sunday. Ooh. And there was an exercise that they had us do. And it was called giving, taking, receiving, and allowing pleasure.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're familiar with this technique.
Familiar.
So when it was my turn to be the one being touched, my husband, who I've been with for over 7 years, he was touching me the way that I was requesting. Yeah. That was the first prompt. And then it was, he got to take his pleasure. And he started going for kissing my neck immediately. And I just kept giggling and and he like couldn't get in. And he actually looked at me and I could tell he was fucking frustrated. Like it activated something. And so after we chatted and he was like, I don't feel like I can fully give you pleasure because there's parts of you where you're not receiving it. And I was like, valid, right? This laughed. I could actually remember that when I was younger, before I graduated high school, my neck was the most erogenous part of my entire body. Oh yeah. And then 18 happened. And that's when I was, had a couple of unconsensual sexual experiences where my neck was trapped down and some intense things was going down there. And I realized just this weekend that my neck stopped being an erogenous part of my body, basically right around 18 or 19. Oh, wow. And what's so interesting and how it's surfacing in my life right now is that that's actually an area of my body that brings my partner pleasure to love on. And so what I got from that is that my laughter told me that there's trauma stored in my neck. And so I wanted to ask about that is that a valid trauma response, laughter? And what would be some ways that I could go about clearing that? Because the giggles are cute, right? But what's really there is I can't receive that pleasure in that part of my body. And I'm committed to being able to receive pleasure throughout every cell of my body.
I think that really is a good lead into you guys. You also do somatic coaching.
Yeah. And I love that you're in a relationship that challenges this. That's really amazing that you have a husband that actually really enjoys giving attention to an area that might feel risky for you. And it's interesting because the brain is this crazy phenomenon. It's really, intricate and complicated, but our body's really simple. So our body doesn't lie ever, right? So if there's been some sort of trauma trapped in the neck, it would be, I feel like, beneficial to move very, very slowly around what are the like pinky toe in the shallow end of the pool look like. And, what is your window of tolerance now? And can we slowly and surely expand that a little bit more each time while we continuously check in with the body and the breath and take breaks and communicate and making sure that you're saying stop and it's going to be respected when you say stop, and just widening that window of tolerance a little bit more each and every time so you can reclaim your body again. You know what I mean? Like, this is your body. And even if you're doing exercises on yourself where it's like slow erotic touches, or maybe he's not touching at all, maybe it's breath, it's air touch. There's so many different kinds of touches that could be explored that doesn't actually have to be physical contact. There's energetic touch, I can just use my energy in my hand. I'm sorry, I didn't ask for consent. Are you okay with this? I can just use the energy from my hand and I can go as far away as possible before she's very sensitive. So if I really held my hand out very far from Kayce, it might feel a little less invasive. And then when I kind of come closer, she can let me know when to stop. Or if I feel a pushback, that might be an area I would just pause and let her breathe into watching her breath and seeing when her body's relaxing. So like you guys can use different tools if you feel called to wanting to explore this deeper, so you have more freedom and choice in that department. There's definitely lots of ways that you guys can go really slowly and see what comes out on the other side, because I feel like there's something that wants to be spoken in your body.
I love that. Thank you.
A lot of what Kimi's talking about is, and this was the first thing that came to mind, is your neck may actually be an energetic when it comes to the blueprints, like your neck itself. So your body can be one blueprint. Your genitals can be another blueprint. And there are other areas of the body that might turn out to be other blueprints as well. And so your neck, because of what it has experienced, is like very sensitive, and he may be coming at it from more of a sexual. And so for energetics, that can be a real like, oh my God, you're going too fast. Please slow down. And so what it may be for your neck is, like Kimi's saying, is actually have him ask for permission. Can I come in and kiss your neck? And have him come very slowly. What we're looking for energetics in their bodies is you want their body to go. So I don't know if you saw it when Kimi was this close, my body tensed up a little. I was like, oh, she's there. And then when she pulled it back, my whole body relaxed because it was like, there's space in there. And I could go, okay, now I'm ready. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the body to assimilate to what's going on around us. And this area is heightened because of what it's experienced. So good job, body. Like it's actually doing what it's supposed to do. So good job, body. And so all it is asking this area, well, what do you need? What do you want? What do you desire? And when the trust is there, right? Because that's all it is a rebuilding of trust for yourself and for him to understand what that is. And then as you start to build that, as that starts to get stronger, the beauty of the energetic is there are transformational, transcendental experiences that can happen without touch ever happening on your body. And so there's these experiences that once there's trust, safety, security, and all of that, there's endless amounts of pleasure that can come just from this area.
Boundaries.
And sugar, if the giggles comes up, let it come. Like there's a way your body's discharging the intensity of the energy that might be coming up from the attention on your throat. So if the giggles come, let it come bigger, make it bigger, laugh louder, make it even more, obnoxious even, and you'll maybe even find once you start releasing some of that pent up energy, you'll feel more flow there. There might be tears even. And then there might be something orgasmic after that. Like
Gigglegasms.
Gigglegasms. Yeah, absolutely.
That was so cute. You're like, gigglegasms.
You're the best.
And thank you for that permission.
Tears
Yes.
are just orgasms from the eyes. So, it can all be orgasmic.
I love
all
that.
of it, it's a release from the body. So to clear it out so you can take in more goodness.
Amazing. So I have a couple more questions for you. So another really common thing, and I'd be interested to get your take on it, is a lot of people talk about, especially I think women or people who identify as women, have a hard time getting out of their head. And I guess it's sort of like a lot of people have a glass of wine, as lubrication or whatever to get out of their head. Do you have any advice for how to, I would say for me, that glass of wine helps me sort of relax enough to get turned on. And sometimes I feel like I don't have the patience to get turned on. I just want to get to it. I just want to be turned on. But that's not my erotic blueprint. I know that.
Listen to that sexual shadow.
I know. I want to get out of my head.
Where your sensual is and I need time. And I need space, and I need to have a good taste in my mouth, and I need a good smell, and I want my body massaged, and I just want it to feel so delicious. And then orgasms there, and then it's elusive, and you're like, fuck, where did it go?
Exactly.
So, right? Hi, sensual shadow. Okay. Yeah. I have that too. Yeah. So part of it is just acknowledging it, like just acknowledging that you you deserve as much as you want.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's
You
in the
get
deserving.
to take up space. You get to take up as much space as you want, as much time as you want. And like, just let your body tell you, oh, I want the lights lower, right? Because if the lights are too harsh, like you're not going to be able to drop in your body. You know, make sure there's good smells there. Make sure you have a liberator throw or a waterproof blanket that's set down so you're not going to bed in wet and cold. Because I know I can't do that. Are you kidding me? Done. I'm out.
Yeah.
I want a clean, warm bed that I'm sleeping in, right? So this is what I'm hearing is a lot of this is women who are in the sensual. This is a big sensual shadow piece. So it's giving yourself permission that like your brain might do that. And then what do you need to come back to your body? Oftentimes that can be breath. Oftentimes that can be presence from your partner. Oftentimes that could be maybe your partner laying on top of your body and like just falling into you. Maybe it's a weighted blanket. Maybe it's taking a moment to go clean something up because you need to do it. But once it's done, you're able to drop back in. So part of it is just acknowledging that you have different needs than what's shown in TV and porn, and that's okay, and that's great. Because the sensual is turned on by all their senses and all that life has to offer, and there's so much beauty in the sensual. And yet oftentimes we've been shamed for that. And no, like, let your beauty come out. Let your pleasure. You can have orgasms without ever being touched because you're so turned on by what's going on around you.
That's true. It's really interesting because the first time I did the erotic blueprint quiz, I was like 80% kinky. And then I did it, and that was with my an old partner. And then I'm with my new partner who is much more patient and willing and is more giving. And I'm like primarily kinky, but my close second is now sensual. And so I don't think I've really been able to explore that side of myself, or I don't feel like I had permission with the partners I was choosing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's with the blueprints, they change and they evolve, especially with the partners that you're with the hormone changes, with what's going on in life. So they can evolve and they can change. They change as you start to heal. Some shadow pieces might come up in some of the other ones, but then when you heal them, new blueprints might come on. So that's what's really beautiful about them is that once you start to understand what blueprint you are and that there are other ones, you can start to talk to your partners about when they shift and when they change. So y'all can get on the same page and you can start to really understand.
Yeah.
So you can be like, I'm recognizing that. This is the other thing too, is if you're getting completely fulfilled in kink from your partner, it's no wonder another blueprint's going to come online. It's like, oh, now there's space. Now I'm not starving.
Now
that's
there's
something new.
Oh yeah, maybe that was it. Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's interesting. Like when I think about crutches, for example, like when we're talking about needing something has to be present in order for you to access pleasure or to be comfortable enough to have intimacy. You know, people are always asking, like, how do I know if my fantasies are unhealthy? And it's like, well, look at it as a way of, is there any part of it that's causing harm to you or your partner? Is there a way that it's blocking true intimacy and depth? And is it, do you feel badly about it afterwards? Like, are you judging yourself? Are you like, oh, why do I have to drink a bottle of wine before I have sex with somebody? You know, like, and if any of those are true, it's not to shame, it's just to kind of be curious, right? You know, like, I like to say curious is just another word for love. So if you're curious about why am I sort of limiting myself to a certain way of moving into pleasure, into intimacy, is it serving me? Yeah, it's a good idea to kind of reflect on that. I always say, even for people who have fetishes that are like, I need this present in order to get aroused or to have climax, that's all good and well. But if it's stealing away your ability to have deep intimacy with somebody, or you're feeling bad about it, or it's causing harm in some way, then there's definitely other ways to expand that potential. And we're all about, like, you know, we talked earlier about the pinky and the shallow end of the pool. Like, it's a slow process, but as you sort of widen that window of tolerance, you can expand into more possibility. And all we want to do at the end of the day is create choice for people. Like, that's what this is all about, is to let people know these are options. I'm a girl that likes options. You can take this kinky tool belt and wear it anytime you want and have all these freaking options if you want, or you can put it on your wall and have great vanilla sex. I know. No way against great vanilla sex either. I love me some good vanilla sex. Absolutely. But it's just nice to know that there's so many possibilities. You know, I feel like kink is getting more and more popular because hookup, casual, meaningless sex culture is fucking dead. Like, it's dead. Like, people don't want to only have this option for meaningless sex. And kink doesn't have to be sex. So it can actually be an opportunity for intimacy that doesn't have to be, you know, genital stimulation or orgasms or anything like that. So people can still have a really erotic, sensual, mind-blowing experience that doesn't have to necessarily be P and the V. You know what I mean? Like, it can be a lot of different things. So that creates, again, more possibility, more choice for people to decide how they want their erotic lives to look. It doesn't have to look like this certain little way, this little box that it used to be for so many years. It can be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
So we just want to give people an idea so they can see, like, oh, this fits for me. This is not so much my style. And then you can sort of move forward from there.
That's amazing. That's awesome. So well said. Katie?
Do you ladies work with people virtually, or is it all in person?
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Katie's like, sign me up.
All the way.
Like,
Yay, Katie.
yeah.
I can't wait to dress you up as a naughty schoolgirl, Katie. You're
I love it.
I love the reformed Catholic girl.
Well, okay, so I know we're trying to wrap it up, but there was just one word in Kayce's profile that we have to, or her biography that we have to talk about, because Mama Gina, courtesan. So we, you know, the way of the courtesan was a chapter in Pussy Reclamation. So we heard all about it from Mama Gina, and I'm so intrigued by the courtesan. Quickly, just for our listeners, for anyone who doesn't know what a courtesan is, and then my question is, what are some of your best practices for being irresistible in life from the view of a courtesan?
That's a great question. How do I describe a courtesan? So a courtesan is somebody who has been hired to basically fulfill a fantasy. And it's not usually like a one night stand. Like, it is a full exploration experience. And I found that it's very sensual. Like, it's very sensual, very energetic, with sexual aspects that come into it. Yeah, I don't know
How are you so damn sexy is what she's asking.
Yeah.
Tell us.
And then the irresistible, there's just like I don't know, how do you experience the magnetism? Because I haven't actually put it into words. There's like a draw, there's an essence.
I think it also impacts more than the physical. Like, there's a mental, emotional, energetic, like there's just a fullness around the presence of what you do, and, you know, and how you show up in for people in general, and then in the erotic sense, that I feel like it touches on all parts of it, the human experience even.
Yeah, it's not, you know, because it's a hired experience, it's not about me. So it isn't about me. It's not about my emotions. It's not about my wants, or it wasn't, because they no longer do that work. But it wasn't about my needs or my wants or my desires. It was like, well, what are your wants? What are your desires? And you know, what I found with most of these men is that they were missing being validated. They were missing being, you know, told that they were amazing, that their ideas were brilliant, that, you know, there was so much more possibility within them than anyone around them was able to kind of tap into. So when I went into that work, I'd already had the background of being a dominatrix. I had learned from this one 15 years ago in New York City. And so I came into this work like already working with men in the dom aspect, but that really wasn't my path. My path was more of this like courtesan, where it was just like, let me play as a dom, but in a different way, where I'm actually still in power and I'm in control and I'm knowing I have my eye on everything that's going on, but I'm also doing it from an energetic, sensual way. So I'm able to move the energy, like, and I can bring up the conversations and I can pull information out of him. So I'm very present and I'm very like, tell me what's going on. And there are other words that could come in, or kind of like trophy girlfriend or girlfriend experience, but it's all built in the fantasy of like a longer experience versus just like an escort or somebody like that who, typically fulfills a very short fantasy in a smaller period of time.
But I did draw something from what you said. Like there was a part where you acknowledge their ideas and you acknowledge their greatness. So I would say like, and I think that is a very irresistible quality when you're so in tune to people that you really acknowledge like the great, sexy things about them. So that's something that I think we can all take into our lives to have us all be a bit more irresistible.
We forget about it. We forget when we get caught in our relationships that a lot of times it's just like, oh, well, you're not doing the dishes and this isn't happening. But like each human has like these really beautiful qualities about them. And so if you can step back and look at your partner and remember why you fell in love with them, and oftentimes we women won't celebrate the man in front of us, but we may celebrate him to our friends and to other people around. So, and I'm saying man, but it could be any gender. However you choose. But if you're talking about your partner behind their back in a beautiful way, make sure that you're also telling them to their face the things that you share. I know for me, I struggled to do that. So one of the things I've done with my partner is I will actually share with them as if I were talking to a friend.
Ooh, I like that.
So I will say, because I just, for some reason, I get all like flustery in the mouth. And so I just let them know, I'm like, I want to share the things that I have been saying about you behind your back. And so I'm going to talk to you as if you're a friend so that you can hear what I say about you, because I really love you and I really care about you. And that's the foundation of the relationship is we actually want more intimacy, love, and connection. And oftentimes we wind up pushing it away. And so if we can start to bring that back. The other thing to think about is that it only takes one in a relationship for the relationship to change. And so if you're willing to, it may take a moment for them because you've created patterns and your nervous systems have done certain things. But if you could start to step back and go, I love this person, this human in front of me, and I want more depth, intimacy, and connection. Well, it's your self-responsibility to do it. You cannot put it on them. And this is the same thing with your pleasure. It is your responsibility to get your needs met. And so take that and say, what do I need to get this met? And then be that and see what happens.
That's amazing.
Love
Thank
that.
you. This has been a lot of mic drop moments. I feel like we could do like a whole episode on so many of the topics we covered today. Thank you so much for coming on. You've given all of us a lot of food for thought, and Katie's ready to hire you as her coaches.
Yay.
Maybe me too.
Welcome, Katie.
No, thanks.
Her stop is an alter ego name for Katie.
Yeah.
We need a mistress, mistress name for you.
Ooh, a mistress name.
Call her a Clit Talk Daddy.
Oh,
Yeah.
She likes that.
Or boss daddy.
I like boss daddy.
Yeah. Is that the one I said to you, Katie, that you were like, yeah.
Hi, boss.
I called her boss daddy.
Yeah.
She's into that.
And I was like, whoa, I liked that.
Kayce and Kimi, can you please share with our listeners the best way for them to potentially work with you, to follow you, to keep in touch with you, all the things that you offer that might be of interest to our listeners?
Absolutely. So we are still building our website, erosandkink.com. And while that's in construction, you can also go to KimiInch.com. So there's two websites, KimiInch.com, erosandkink.com. You can find me at all the social media outlets under Kimi Inch, at Kimi Inch. And I think
that's the best.
Yeah, you can't.
Perfect.
You can't find Kayce.
I don't really add people. I'm very private.
Got it.
So hers are the best.
Awesome.
But also, if you go on her Instagram, she has kind of a link tree type thing, so you can find all of our offerings, all the things that we do, and yeah, we would love to see all of you.
Yes,
Amazing.
amazing.
That'll be fun.
Well, thank you so much
Thanks
for
for
coming
having
on.
us.
I feel like
Thank
this
you.
is just the beginning of a beautiful collaboration with the both of you and Clit Talk. So reach out to them, Cliterati, if you're interested in working with them. They have a ton of fantastic resources. And with that, we're going to see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm talking about a clit talk, clit talk, clit talk. Talking about a clit talk, clit talk, clit talk. Come on, girls and boys and everyone on the gender rainbow. Bring your pussies to the show.